Will Smith is back in the new Apple original film Emancipation. It's based on a true story of a runaway slave. Is this an awards-worthy performance, even though he's not allowed to attend the Academy Awards? Peter is a man who escapes from slavery, relying on his wits, unwavering faith, and deep love for his family to evade cold-blooded hunters and the unforgiving swamps of Louisiana on his quest for freedom. Antoine Fuqua directs this period piece, and right from the start, the film utilizes an odd color choice for the presentation. It's not quite black and white, but it's certainly lacking in a lot of color. There are still some green hues that break through, as well as red in certain instances, and then other times all color seems to have left a scene. Now, I don't mind this as a creative choice, but it felt inconsistent in how it was displayed. And I like the desaturated look as it gives this cold feeling to an already dreary time. We follow Peter, played by Will Smith, and right at the start of the film, he is ripped away from his family, and that desire to get back to them is what drives him through the entire story. Now, there's a point where Peter overhears that Lincoln has declared the slaves free, so when the opportunity arises, he makes a break for freedom. Will Smith is quiet and very understated here. I wouldn't necessarily call him brooding because he's not like he's pouting or just sitting on his haunches feeling sorry for himself. He's a determined man and very observant. He also relies on faith, which we get to see play out in small ways throughout the runtime. Now, Smith's accent sounds a bit wonky to me, as it felt just inconsistent. Now, sometimes there was a very clear accent to the way that he pronounced words, and then other times it felt completely absent from his speech. Now, this isn't a huge drawback, but it can be noticeable since the character doesn't often have a ton to say. Now, for a large majority of this movie, it's a chase film. Peter is being pursued by runaway hunters, with the main one being portrayed by Ben Foster. Now, he is also excellent to watch, and I typically enjoy all of his performances. Now, here, he's a despicable character, simply because he hunts human beings. But that coldness and detached way that he goes about it is just unsettling. He also plays with his prey, which makes it into a very sadistic game of cat and mouse. Now, I really appreciate how the settings are captured and displayed for us. This takes place in and around the swamps of Louisiana, and as serene as they may appear, no thank you. I would never want to be just traipsing through there, because who knows what you'd catch or be attacked by. And that's a part of the point of this. Peter uses the swamp to his benefit, but still has to take on the challenges as well as stay hidden from his pursuers. Now, the swamps are beautifully shot, but some of the camera work, especially in the first half of the film, it got to be very repetitive. Drone shots were being employed, and sometimes there's too much of a good thing. And even more so when the scenery just keeps changing. Showing multiple locations to establish a film, it's not new by any means. It was just the use of the drone that got to be too much. And then it was also used once the story began. So, some was good and effective, but too much, it became a nuisance and a detractor to the visual storytelling. And then we have the story itself. Now, this wants to give us the full picture of Peter and his escape, especially because he became the subject of a world-renowned photo taken of him, which is called Whipped Peter. Now, it showcased what slavery looked like, a beaten man whose back was torn to shreds and scarred from multiple whippings. So this is important, and getting to that point, it can't be rushed, but it also shouldn't be dragged out. Now, for the majority of this, it really is just a chase movie. When Peter finally reaches a point that looks like he may be safe, the movie feels like it's reached the climax, and it's then coming to the conclusion. But then there's still something like, 25-ish minutes left in the story. And this is a longer one also at 2 hours and 12 minutes, so the time is felt. I really think that some during the chase could be removed, as it just kept showing Peter having to overcome an obstacle or nearly be caught repeatedly. And by reducing those scenes, even by just a little bit, it would have made the storytelling more efficient and the flow would have been better. Now, honestly, as exciting as some of the chase scenes could be, I also grew bored with how long they went on. That's never the feeling you want within a story. Now, this is a harrowing tale, and it's very brutal to watch. The violence isn't shied away from, so it's effective in creating a jarring and shocking effect. And there are points that certainly turned my stomach, and it wasn't really because of the violence, but more so the behaviors and the mindsets that are shown. The story itself is a simple one, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what hampered this the most for me were the drawn-out sequences during those chase scenes, which then tired me out before we even get to the finale. And that too is a horrifying scene to watch, as it's just all-out war. Now, I think this movie was relying too much on watching Will Smith evade pursuers and forgot to keep us invested in where the story was headed. What I thought was going to be an epic film, thanks to Smith and Foster, turned out to be an intriguing story told in a so-so manner. So overall, Will Smith leads this film well, capturing the determination and strength of a man running for his freedom. The premise is engaging and harrowing, wrought with tension from a constant pursuit, but the story gets lost a bit in repetition before delivering the final gut punch imagery. This does feel long, but the quiet fierceness of both Smith and Foster may captivate you during this horrifyingly true tale. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and then a ton of brutal and vicious violence. I give Emancipation 3 out of 5 couches. So what's your favorite Will Smith performance? I mean, he runs the gamut with drama, comedy, and romance, so I'd love to hear your favorites in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.